Hey, hello everybody, it's me and James again.
Hi.
Me and James have been looking at a few things. I asked James today what place or what thing in Tartaria would he like me to go and look at, and so what has it been?
Right. Well, there's two excellent channels, JonLevi, which I'm sure most of you will have heard of, and Flatwater Films, and they have both featured the capital city of Turkmenistan, which is called Ashgabat.
And that's what our video is going
Yes.
to be about today. But when we went to JonLevi's channel, he had this picture of Tartaria up. And James, what did you say to me?
Well, the first thing I said, look how small China is on there. And
Look.
it's been shown by Martin Leaker that the Great Wall of China is a defensive, the way it's configured, the defence is from an invader from the south.
Is that what it is? Is that line there, the Great Wall of China?
I believe that is meant to be the
So
Great
China
Wall.
went all the way down to there, even though they had a slither?
I think it's just that red bit. I don't know what this green bit, because it hasn't got all the, it's just got NA, so
Maybe that's when we weren't so flooded.
you've also got down the bottom there, I just noticed the word Kathia, which it sort of suggests Cathar.
So that's Russia then.
That is what most of that is what we'd know today as Russia.
Thing is,
yes.
you know, in history it says that Russia had this land, and then they seem to give it back to the Chinese. But on this, they had it anyway. It was their land.
Well, this map is of Tartaria.
Well, we can't answer anything there. We're just noting. Look at the size of China. So that's the first thing on there. I was going to put the video on. The video's about 10 minutes long, and me and James might stop. Look, that's an old Tartaria map. Tartaria. Bit strange that a line goes all the way into there. You can have that slither.
Interesting. You've also got Parthia down on the bottom left-hand corner.
Which means?
Well, what's that come up with? Greek to do with the Greek civilization, if I remember rightly.
That's the town we're going to look at, isn't it?
Yeah, Ashgabat.
Ashgabat. And it's quite incredible, really. It's not even what we're looking at. It's just, well, there's a little bit of information there, and you even notice that the president is up. The gold figure which we come across in here is the gold. I'm sorry, is the president. What's your overriding feeling then when we actually look at this video?
Personally, I wouldn't want to live there because it looks so unnatural and clinical. Turkmenistan is the country. This is the capital city. It's in the middle of nowhere. Now, it's the amazing grid patterns with this, the symmetrical patterns, the sheer scale. The population is said to be 1 million for this country, but it's the vastness of it to start with. This is,
although it's sort of in some like desert-like place, this is a very well put together place, isn't it? And as we're going through here, you notice like a lot of the roofs, and JonLevi said that were green,
which would be oxidized copper. The interesting thing about Turkmenistan, according to the Wikipedia, the fountain of all knowledge, is that 80% of the people work for the government.
What did you say? We can't go there.
Well, I had a look just out of curiosity to book a flight there, and it says Turkmenistan does not allow anybody in.
So what it is we did actually spot people here. But in a minute, when James is ready, we'll get to the bit about how busy London is. I mean, this is their capital city. It was never busy, was it, in any of the bits we watched? There was people there, but it was low-key, all low-key.
Well, if anybody wants to look at the Google Earth and zoom in and then compare with a capital city of, say,
it's the
Paris
hospital, look.
or
we zoomed into the
London.
hospital. It's got an H on it.
Yeah, if anybody wants to go on Google Earth, and I invite you to look at somewhere like Paris or London, a capital
Plus a
city.
military hospital.
Yeah, and
there was this place.
And then look how much traffic and activity you get, and then compared to this capital city, where there is almost an absence of activity. It's said that they have siestas because it's so hot during the day, but it's the absolute lack of any movement, any people.
Well, we did see people, but we didn't see many people.
This is the thing. It's also the very interesting stark contrasts you've got here. When it'll come up later in the film when you look at there's some ancient ruins, and you can see that it's very dusty and dry. But then when you see the city, it's pristine. There doesn't even seem to be one pothole in any road. I can't see any seams in the tarmac.
Lampposts everywhere.
That's another amazing thing. It's said that according to Wiki again, the Turkmenistan government give their people free electric, free gas, and free water. Also, where are we? See, this is the thing. You're in a dry, dusty area, and look how pristine the buildings are. Immaculate. You've got a very much a sort of almost like a Islamic look about some of these domed structures. I mean, you've got one person in that photo. I don't think their tourist industry is anything to be desired. And the night scenes as well. Everything is lit up, but where is the traffic? You would see headlights of vehicles. This is a capital city. Have they got money to burn? Why is everything lit up? And now
What's that?
Now they say this is a Ferris wheel, but the whole idea of a Ferris wheel is so you can look out. But this thing is enclosed, and I would have thought it's some sort of solar harnessing device.
I've gone back too far. Sorry. Carry on. So what they're saying is that it is a Ferris wheel, but the views aren't very good. There.
Well, it's all enclosed. So to serve the purpose as a Ferris wheel wouldn't make any sense.
And this is on JonLevi's video with they had all these grid paths, and these are lights, and at night time they're all alight.
There's also these little.
And they've planted all these trees.
Yeah, they're all. Again, you don't see anybody about. Who's planted them? They're fairly recent because they're very young trees, and that's interesting. You've got like Star Fort within Star Fort design. Again, very symmetrical.
Big buildings.
Yeah, massive buildings. But again, where's all the traffic? Where are all the people? Who's done all that landscaping? Who maintains it?
There are people there. Look, there is a woman there. And we did in the video. We go past, and there are a couple of people in the bus.
But there's no litter. It's said that you're not allowed to smoke in this city. You're not allowed to have dogs. It seems a very controlled environment where you have very little freedom. You have the free
Are you allowed
energy.
to have children here? Yeah, we saw some children, but you're not allowed to.
Again, I wonder if there seems to be all these restrictions, the implications. But how clean these buildings are. It's not
considering when you get to the market, what are they doing? Slaughtering all the animals like the old way.
We'll come on to that. But when you compare to somewhere like New York or London, how everything is so compressed and close together, this is spaced out. Every building has got landscapes, almost gardens around them. You've got these exceptional wide streets. Now, for a capital city at any time of day, where is all the traffic? There's not. The roads look pristine. Total absence of
hot,
people.
Remember? So they might get...
Yeah.
So and all the roads look good.
But there's no sort of dilapidation. I've no idea what... I mean, that looks to be some sort of antenna.
Yeah.
I mean, it's massive. Compared to the height of the trees and things.
That's the Ferris wheel thing again.
And then you've got an antenna on top of it. And this thing as well.
Did notice that in the sky. I don't really know. That's where the page was bent because it was going into another picture.
It's almost reminiscent of a Star of David and like the Seattle Needle.
Do you want us to do the relevance of what London looks like?
Yeah, that would be. It's an interesting comparison.
Okay.
Bearing in mind this is a capital city.
James's comparison, London.
Well, I mean, you just look at the amount of traffic you can see on some of these pictures, the pollution. You've got the wide open spaces in that photograph over on the right. But you can see clearly the headlamps of vehicles, so that you can see plenty of activity. This is what I would expect to see in any capital city.
Okay, we'll go back to the other one,
Yeah.
but that's just like how busy that our city or London city is.
Just a comparative images, really, to put into context how Ashgabat is so vastly different.
Yeah, so that was the comparison, and then we get to this place which has got these enormous great white buildings in them. Did notice something else though, didn't I, James? We're coming up to that in a minute, which don't know what relevance it was, but it's just right there in our faces. But great big buildings, all nice and clean.
And yet it looks a very dry and dusty area.
Look, a balcony to look out on, but there's no one there.
Yeah, and you've got a griffin, which is a feature.
Yeah,
of
it's
the
a griffin. We only
Tartarian
you
flags.
were thinking that was a horse.
Initially, I thought it was a wing. I said, "Oh, look, it's a winged horse," but
as it turned around on the video, it was a griffin.
But you've got an almost Greco-Romano style, but you've also got a very sort of Islam style with these domes and things, and these statues as well. The sort of thing you'd associate with the Middle East, with Turkey, and possibly with Russia as well at one time. I mean, we could look at these and say, oh, they're Turkish, but
there's a man there. Look how small he is. Look how anyway.
And they're on starfort basis, you notice as well.
There you go. Look at that.
And a 5-headed eagle.
Yeah.
But what is that real gold or is that painted? Again, it's so pristine. Golden arrows. I mean, there's plenty of references in mythology to this sort of thing. And you've got all this symbolism on these.
There you go again. 5-headed.
I mean,
Two snakes.
We get flags with 2-headed eagles and crests with 2-headed eagles, but a 5-headed one. Now this one I find very interesting.
All of them. There's 1, 2, 3, 4. We can see. There's probably one around the other side because it's on a starfort thing.
Can we go back to that last picture of that statue?
Yes, James, for you.
There's something I wanted to point out here. If you look at the Wikipedia entry, their current president took over from the first president, who was president for life and died in 2017. Now this footage, if I remember rightly, that Flatwater Films shows, said this, and I think JonLevi mentioned this as well, that this tourist film was done 10 years previous. So how could you have, so we're looking about 2010, so this current president is installed in 2017. So how can that be on a predated film? And also the speed that statue has been put up. And again, is it real gold? It certainly doesn't have the detail as in those previous ones. In comparison, it's quite crude, but it's a very sort of lifelike resemblance in the face to this president. So have they taken down a previous statue that was on that pedestal and installed the current president? Probably. But why is he up there if the film predates his presidency?
I don't know.
That's another thing. I thought, what was the date that was mentioned on that Wikipedia? And it's like, again, that's something else that doesn't add up.
Nothing ever adds up anyway, Jamie.
Again, where are all the people?
Where's all the people?
And that's like the Gherkin in London. But what is the function of that building? It's an odd shape. Now this is the other interesting thing with this place. When you start looking at what you can see of the daily life, it almost looks more sort of harking back to the spice trade route. Again, so does traffic. They obviously don't have a congestion problem.
That is a door to a shopping centre.
Yeah, we think it's a shopping centre. I mean, they look like a modern European shopping centre, or one you get anywhere in the so-called Western world.
There's a big book in the middle of a roundabout.
Yeah.
It's got one of them. just also clean, and this is night time.
This again, considering there seems to be I mean, 1 million people in total for the entire country. This seems excessive. Like we've got money to waste on just lighting everything up, and for what purpose? Where are all the people? This is now night time. If it's cool during the day, or too hot during the day, and they're coming out at night, where are they?
You know, that's the end of the video, James. Is there anything else you want to say?
It's just...
We'll go back to... There's the Ferris wheels about... We'll go to the Ferris wheel one. I'll leave it on the... Oh, it's back here then. No. I can't find the Ferris wheel now. Must be back in here.
That was it, I think.
Where is it? No, we had the... There it is. Right, so... I asked you, did you think that was like Tartarian, you know, like one of the world fairs, like looking like leftover parts?
Well, they say they're world fairs. I think it's more likely they were. It's of the mindset of a hunter who's displaying his trophies, and then the things were taken down. But it looks like this area, the stuff has been left intact. But it's the sheer...
Is that what you think? You think this comes from the World Trade in the 1800s?
No, I think the World Trade, these exhibitions they had, particularly in the United States, and then they're taken down within a year of being constructed, allegedly. So
All
the
burned
story
down.
goes. But these things are still in place.
So what are you saying then?
I'm saying that the so-called world fairs and exhibitions, particularly in the United States, are not what we're told they are. I think that was before the things were destroyed. But this is an interesting one, because it's not only just that so-called Ferris wheel. It's part of a much bigger structure, and you've got the star fork patterns, the symmetry of it.
Yeah, those have got these are all lights, but yeah, they're all parts of, like, they just go on, and the roads go on,
and again, where's all the traffic?
Yeah, we did that. We're just going through these pictures again.
It's just incredible. And then when you see the sort of market scenes,
it's quite barbaric. I couldn't watch that. They were sort of slaughtering them there. Oh, that's the one I wanted. They were slaughtering them there, like chopped up on the side, still with their fur on. Ugh.
But the few people you do see...
Look at that, there's no people.
The few people you do see seem to have very Western clothing, but then when you see what's being sold from some of these shops, they're more what I would call traditional style clothing, and the vibrant colours of them are fascinating. The rugs and things that are on the flat water films are...
The only difference is, I do know it gets so hot in the day that not that many people are out in the day, which might be why the traffic doesn't...
We're on that sort of... Turkmenistan is on that sort of line with the Mediterranean, so that to give you an idea of the temperatures that they must have in the summer.
Well, it's probably even hotter there, because it's covered in... It's basically sand, isn't it? But you think this is an old structure then?
Yes, very much. I mean, what is that antenna on top all about? I personally... I'm of the idea that, I mean, I'm very sort of the idea that centre ball is very similar to the things that are displayed by the Russian Orthodox Church, and I think the Catholic Church. They hold those staffs with those, almost like the sun symbol radiating out. That seems to...
That's quite incredible, isn't it?
The same thing.
You mean it's Art Nouveau sort of thing, or even older? These are like... This is part of another world fair. This is what's left.
I don't think they were world fairs. I think that's the story we've been given about them before they're destroyed.
I mean, that's a pretty big building, isn't it?
Massive. The amount of people in that country does not warrant and justify these buildings, because what would the cost be to?
Yeah, it's a griffin.
Because you look at all the ground plan of this city, it's symmetrical. There's no winding, twisting roads. They're all straight lines on grid patterns.
It is clean, I have to say. Look at that.
That's
clean.
That's the other amazing thing, considering where it is and how dry and dusty it is outside, and how there's a total absence of any dust. The buildings are immaculate. Everything is immaculate.
Like almost no one lives there, but you can see that there are people there, but it's not. This is the capital. Anyway, James, coming to the end now. That is strange seeing a big book in the middle of a roundabout.
Yeah.
And loads of street lights. Anyway, thanks for helping us make this video.
You're welcome.
And,
It's a fascinating
yeah, you picked
topic.
this one, didn't you?
Yeah, it's a fascinating topic with a lot of unanswered questions, so it's sort of over to the audience, really.
Thanks, James.
You're welcome.